Welcome back to the Cheri Hill Show, doing everything possible to spark and fuel your entrepreneurial dreams. Now, here's your host, Cheri Hill.
The most profound lesson from Project Apollo, putting a man on the moon, is that when Americans make up their minds to undertake impossible goals, we achieve them by working together on a single vision where failure is not an option and all of humanity benefits from our successes. My guest, Tom Taormina, was a member of the Apollo 13 disaster recovery team at Mission Control in Houston. His experiences during his 14 years at NASA formed the foundation for his ability to rapidly analyze problems, diagnose solutions, and work with enlightened business people to implement successful outcomes. This skill set makes him a highly sought-after consultant, frequent speaker, and prolific author. Number 12, It Was Rocket Science, was just released. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Cheri. Good to be here.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the Center for Business Excellence, which is a group of about 14 really brilliant, smart, energetic, old guys.
Old guys, so you got that right. Yeah.
All coming together to go, you know what, we've got to transfer our knowledge. And so one of the foundations for the Center for Business Excellence is something you call the Apollo Business Model. So why don't you share what that is?
I will. Thank you. As you mentioned, my 12th book is called It Was Rocket Science. In working with more than 600 companies over the last 40 years and reflecting back on how we won the space race in 7 years, I finally was able to put together in one succinct place what we did to bring all of these companies and people together during Gemini and Apollo. I mean, there was two-man machine shops working with IBM, working with Philco, the company I worked for, and we all had the same vision. We all had the same mission. Failure is not an option. We're not going to hurt anybody in space. It's going to go off without a hitch. We're going to meet all of our goals. And it was just such an incredible time. After Apollo 13, I was asked repeatedly, oh, boy, that must have been exciting that first night. I said, you know what? We just did what we were trained to do. And that was it. We trained, we simulated, we had documented procedures, we had that single vision. I heard JFK say we were going to the moon when I was in high school. On my 19th birthday, I packed up my little Corvair and moved from New York City to Houston. I put myself through the university, and I pestered enough people until I got a job at NASA. That was the culture. That was the foundation for all of this. In codifying it in the book and then creating what I call the Apollo business model, it brings together a pattern, a model for business leaders, community leaders, anyone in a leadership position to look through the 9 tenets of the Apollo business model and say, if I do these in my company, failure is not an option. To wit, the biggest problem that I deal with companies these days is liability. I'm also an expert witness in product liability. And I see far too many of these companies in court that have abdicated their moral obligation to the world to deliver products that are safe. So in that context, I have proven over the years that you can ship zero defective products. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. But that
and I encourage people that you should reach out to Tom for that. So unless you can pay for him now, or you can pay for him as your witness against you, right?
It's 3 times the rate. You probably don't want to do that. Just an imperative that this nation is facing right now of we're perfecting mediocrity. We're not looking at the big picture. Again, the gray hair gives me the license to say, you know, Cheri, you wouldn't have that cell phone that's sitting in front of you if we hadn't gone to the moon. Well, he wouldn't have that laptop that the producer's using right now. They would not exist. Eventually they would have, and they'd be in some rudimentary form. But the fact that we went to the moon was the motivator for that, for Tang, for all of the spin-offs that you and I have heard over the years. What people don't know is current day on the International Space Station, they are making medical breakthroughs every day. They're making breakthroughs in manufacturing on the space station every day. Nobody pays any attention to it. Mm-hmm. If we are going to solve our social, economic, and our human problems, we need to go somewhere. We need to take the Apollo business model and replicate it again for some big project. I don't know what it is. I'm not a visionary.
Actually, I just saw a whole thing on, I think it was PBS, a guy that's mapping the ocean floors,
Right.
because discovery of the ocean floors. And he did mention, we've gone to the moon. Why don't we know what's underneath us? Because our planet is massive. So someone is working on that, but only 2 people on the whole world know about it. So,
Exactly.
Right?
And it also is the people that say, well, why are we spending so much money on sending people in space or to do these sort of research projects? They're looking at the world myopically. They're not doing it for the fame and glory of Indiana Jones. They're doing it because when they find these discoveries, the Hubble telescope has opened up the universe literally to us as far as the origin of the universe. Well, how does that help me when I'm working at the casino tonight on my shift? Well, I don't think you can make that connection readily, but every innovation, every medical innovation, every technology innovation is somehow related to this massive research that individuals are doing.
Yeah. Well, and then, let's boil that down to, northern Nevada right now, or actually the whole state of Nevada.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
we're in a huge transition. And, that's what we were talking about last segment, that realistically, as exciting as it is, there's still a lot of people here that don't even know what's going on. Second, there's a whole lot of people here that want to be involved and engaged in it, but they don't know how.
Correct.
And then you have really no one laying that vision like JFK. I want to put a man on the moon in 8 years. And it happened.
Yeah.
We don't have that. So how do we expect to get to the end of about a 5-year window here where all these big giant companies are coming, and then what?
My little band of gray hairs is attempting to answer that question. I mean, we have a very dynamic governor. He's caused this revolution to happen. Whether people know it or not, I spent 33 years in Houston, and I watched Houston grow from 100,000 to 4 million, and that was strategically done. It wasn't space, it wasn't oil, it was everything. And our governor seems to have a grasp on that. He and Dean Heller, I know Dean Heller's got a grasp on it. But once again, what do you do? Who do you call? Who's the 411 you call? And that's difficult because there are many large consulting firms around the world that will come in and fix all of our problems. But it's got to be grassroots. It's got to be here. We know our culture. I lived in Story County for 19 years. I mean, goodness, that's a grounding.
It's unique, I will say that, but it is a lot of fun. This is Cheri Hill. You're listening to The Cheri Hill Show with guest Tom Taormina, who is here representing as Executive Director the Center for Business Excellence. And Tom being, strategically thinking and really looking at, because you're a big thinker. And so when you think big, you have to look at everything as what is the end result out here? And there's never an end, but keep coming back to those that are wondering, how is Tesla moving here? And of course, all the unknowns going to affect me. Like you said, I'm going to go punch in at work tonight and do my job and go home and turn on television. How is it going to impact me?
Well, one of the things that's already impacted is some of these companies are hiring people away from existing companies. So some of the dialogue we've had is, my people are leaving, they're going somewhere else, which is not terribly unusual, and especially in the casino industry, but they're literally going out of the industry, and they're being romanced away by an entirely new set of industries and an entirely new set of skills. So how does it affect me personally? Well, if I'm happy in my present job, then enjoy the ride. But if I have children who are looking for careers, if I have grandchildren, if you are interested in what's going on, what's going to be the future of our community, then it's time for you to start becoming educated. The Center for Business Excellence is going to start doing informational workshops. We hope to be working with the Cube on having some workshops there, and then we'll start larger and larger. But each workshop is going to be there for one reason. We're going to pick one of the topics off of the topic list that we've already come up with, and we're going to bring people in to talk about strategic thinking. Quality is a profit center. How do you ship defect-free products? How do you survive business success? That's one of my favorite topics. How does a business owner communicate with his people? We've discovered that most business owners have no idea how they're perceived by the people that work for them. Mm-hmm. So in moving towards the goal that you're speaking of how do we service Tesla and the other new industries, it's becoming aware, the business leaders becoming aware of what's available to them in the way of world-class business process management. And you can take strategic planning, as you so aptly put it, and boil that down to a little more grounded concept. Everything is a series of interrelated processes. Everything we do, from brushing our teeth to running our companies, is a series of interrelated processes. Going to the moon was a series of interrelated processes. So in the 600-plus companies I've worked with, I just look for what's the vision, what's the mission, what is the person who is in charge. If it's a corporation, that's a problem because most corporation presidents report to a board of directors. So that can be problematic. But in any environment where people really want to succeed, the first thing we do is vision, mission, and values, and then we start looking at everything that's going on as a series of interrelated processes. It really gets down to that. So as we start putting on these workshops and getting people engaged to think, my new tagline is think outside the globe. The heck with thinking outside the box, right?
Right.
Let's think outside the globe. And let's look at whatever business you're in. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Whatever it is, let's look at where you want to go. Because if you don't plan where you're going to go, you're going to get there anyway, but it may not be where you want it to be.
Exactly. Well, and I can only imagine the presenters, because they're going to be your group of gray hairs, as you call them, but these guys are really smart. And so I already know I'm going to that one, How to Survive Business Success, because I love that title. But if somebody wanted to find out more about the Center for Business Excellence, do you want them to go to your website? Where would you like them to go?
Well, that's a good place to start. It's cbenv.com is the website for the Center for Business Excellence. We also have the website for my organization, which is called Apollo Business Solutions, and it has a even more cryptic name for the website, O-Resonance, Organizational Resonance, abbreviated to O-Resonance. Organizational resonance is one of the workshops we're going to do, and it says, regardless of what your business is, we can make it harmonized. We can make it all resonate together with some very simple steps. So if you're interested in talking about specifics, check out oresonance.com. It has my contact information. If you need to know more about CBE, please check out cbenv.com.
All right, we'll be right back.